Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Intel Extreme Masters Gyeonggi, as we are 2-1 deep in this best of 5 in favor of Stats. I'm joined once again by Artos and Funker. We're going to kind of talk a little bit about that series as a whole so far. What we've seen from Stats is a lot of carriers and some victories from it.
Yeah, you know, a lot of what we were talking about did come true. Maybe not exactly how we were seeing it, but I love that ByuL started out quickly with the gold-based play. And I didn't mind the carrier response because you kind of have to turtle against that anyways.
Of course.
But he did get crushed at least in that first game.
Yeah, ByuL's macro in that first game was just simply off the chart. He was able to overpower those cannons and carriers by Stats by making a lot of Hydralisks and Banelings. But as we've seen, second game, kind of similar play style from both players, but Stats just playing it a little bit slower, I would say. And just getting that ultimate army of 10 carriers, lots of storms, Archons and everything. It was just a super great second game in my opinion.
Yeah, the second game was crazy. Like, almost the entire map, almost mined down. ByuL decided to take his opponent's gold base, and all of a sudden, like, for some reason, Stats had such a strong army that was never broken out of. What were the main issues there?
Well, I think in that game, the big difference was that he got up to a lot of Psy Storm. It did get pretty close at the end. Stats was really not mining very much, and he had to win with his final push, which of course he was able to do thanks to Psy Storm. But I gotta say, I was very appreciative of Stats that he switched back to the style I was more predicting out of him in game number 3, which is the Archon drops, you know, and just kind of going into that more normal Korean meta of mass Archon, some Mortals, charge lots, things like that. Because, you know, that seems to suit him a bit more, and it's a bit less volatile, I think, against a player like ByuL.
Exactly. He can show how good his micro is. Like, he showed it numerous times, going for that Archon drop, then transitioning to Immortal play with some adepts, and he can totally show how good he is with just his army management in general.
Do we expect to see more of that from Stats with those bigger, heavier Archon plays? And just because it did look like ByuL didn't quite have the answer to it in game 3.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think that this is a style that's better for him. I know map 5 is Whirlwind. I'm trying. I can't for the life of me remember map 4, but this would make sense to me if he stays on this style. Like ByuL showed, he could have won game number 2 as well. You know, it was actually very, very close. I don't think Stats wants to mess with carriers anymore.
Yeah, this would be dangerous in my opinion, because in game 2 it felt at some point that he was just slowly but steadily just losing that game, allowing ByuL to take every single base on the map, just making a huge army and a huge bank to rework after that. So I would agree with Artosis on this one, because obviously he's on fire for this tournament. He called for a 3-1, and I think that's going to happen.
All right, well, thank you very much, guys. We're heading into game number 4, so we're heading over to Rotty and Todd for all the action from Stats and ByuL.
Thanks very much to our boys on the desk. Welcome to Newkirk Precinct. And he's on match point, starting in the bottom right-hand side of the map. It's, of course, Stats.
I'm ready, Todd. I'm ready for another one of these ridiculous games that we have seen so far here in the semifinals, which could potentially be our last map. So let's go out with a bang. It is ByuL, of course, on the left bottom side, doing the good old extracted trick.
Yeah, he had been going for a couple 12 pulls earlier in the tournament against Classic, and he's probably gonna be very unhappy to learn that in this game, if he had done one, he might have been able to do very well, because Stats is actually taking the gamble that ByuL was not gonna go for that, and he's gonna go for Nexus first on 17 here.
Yeah. If you go Nexus first and your opponent opens up with a 12 pull, especially if there are speeds behind as well, you know, 12 pull with the extract and you go speed links, it's going to be an incredibly difficult hold if you go Nexus first, if not impossible. Maybe with a perfect wall of and cannons, you can make something weird happen, but normally with Nexus before a gate, with just Zealots, it's just not going to happen anymore. However, ByuL is going to play it a little slower than that. We did see the pull before the hatchery, but no gas, so he might make a couple links, and he should be able to maybe get 2 or 3 links into the main base if that's what he truly wants.
When ByuL played against Classic on this map earlier, he played with a mass link Bane style, and later on, when he realized that Classic was going for a lot of Immortals, he just made a crazy good Broodlord's transition with which he hit the timing before there were going to be any sort of good anti-air, and it just kind of killed him. So it will be interesting to see if he goes again for one more of those, or if maybe he tries to play with missile attacks again and hydralisks like we saw in the previous game.
But there was one very unique thing about that game that ByuL played on this map, and that's that he opened up with a 12 pool that time, and he forced out a massive reaction from the Protoss. You know, went double gate, Mothership core, Cybernetics core, all before a Nexus, and then ByuL's like, went 12 pool. The only thing I did with it was make a queen, and then started injecting. So he got himself in a very sweet position after defending the Protoss rush. But this time we have a much more straightforward opening where, you know, he will not have that economic edge because of the super late Nexus, because Stats went Nexus first.
Absolutely, yes. Stats, though, he's been doing really well with air and the Golden Armada, so to speak, with all of these carriers. Definitely very encouraging for him to go for that yet again, even though in the previous game it opened up very differently and it was a charged style that he was playing. He's going to be going for a Stalker here early on and then goes into the Twilight Council.
That always makes me wonder if we're going to see some crazy Protoss shenanigans, right? Because most of the time when the Protoss goes for a Stalker, it's like, I'm going to kill the Overlord, but don't worry, there's nothing to see here. And then suddenly there are 7 gateways going down, or maybe, you know, like Mass Adept War Prism is absolutely an option.
So it's going to be yet again the Dark Templars into potential Archons across the map for some harassment, and this time
it could be, but it can also be something else though, Todd. Like, I mean, like the opening, but it could be this time. It could be the real 2 base. Like
that's what I was gonna say. This time I do think that if Stats goes for the 2 base, there is a very good chance he's gonna be successful with it.
Yeah.
It's just such a good build. It's so hard to hold. Like even in the previous game, like on 3 base and a delayed version where he was actually building economy, he still powered through. Like those 3 mortals, they just kind of crush everything.
That timing, by the way, of his attack was really sick. Like the moment the battle started, that's the moment when charge finished up. I was kind of worried that charge was going to be late because, you know, normally as a player you're like, okay, do I have charge? Yeah, I have charge. All right, it's time to go. But Stats just ran across the map, and the moment he needed charge, that's the moment when it finished up, and that's actually ridiculous timing. That is one happy Ling. I think it's all the robotics facility. And
it's funny because he's like some sort of new generation Soul Train. He comes at 9 minutes as well. You've got 3 Immortals, Mash Starshot and Archons. And you open with some harassment, so it's like a better, funnier version of it, which is equally as strong from what I've seen. Like I've very rarely seen it being held, and Stats earlier in the tournament absolutely smashed Luzira with it on Vanny Research Station.
You gotta love the opening so far for Stats. He got away with Nexus first, he got away with a builder that he feels very comfortable with, and he didn't make a Mothership core up to now, which means that he really has the best potential economy. Here are these 4 Dark Templars. Once again, they're gonna look for an opening, but should not really be able to find one. It's important though that ByuL has units in the right position. Yeah, and I guess he will. With 9 roaches on the way, he should be alright.
I love the mind game of saying, last game I made 2 Archons, this time it's gonna be 4 DTs.
He's gonna try to jump on the Sport, rather maybe not, so it's gonna be annoying. I mean, the OVC is not done yet, it's almost done. You gotta be careful, you don't want to end up losing any Dark Templars. He gets 2 drones, okay. 3.
Oh, actually fighting. I mean, he's only losing the shields for now. Needs to be careful with that Prism, though. You don't want Stats to start losing any more than just the shields. ByuL has been putting some great emphasis on scouting here. He wants to make sure he knows exactly what he's up against, and that's step 1 towards actually defending some of these attacks that he knows Stats are he's gonna be throwing at him.
Very important now for ByuL with his tournament life on the line that he doesn't take too much damage of these Archons. Getting the Prism would be absolutely fantastic. And Stats taking this much damage, by the way, on the Prism, that's something you gotta be super cautious with, right? Because these are HPs you never get back. And, you know, Drogo said it earlier as well, I think, during Hoster Cup. Once you take some real damage, from that point on, be careful. You know, don't go crazy, don't try to dance on the edge, because the Prism is gonna die.
Keep in mind the War Prism in the latest patch lost some of its hit points as well, so it's a little bit more fragile, you know, if you're playing a feeling like StarCraft, compared to when you had to pull back before and then escape on a few hit points. You now definitely need to be a little bit more careful with that. Spire on the way to follow up that lair here from ByuL, who definitely will want to go, I think, for some Mutalisks. Similarly to what we saw in the previous game, but maybe this time he can use them a little bit better.
Yeah, I still think they did all right the previous game, even though he didn't win. I
It's
don't
just like they were supposed to do more, no?
Yeah, I do think they were supposed to do more, and that's also all credits to Stats, of course, right, for being such a godlike Protoss that somehow doesn't take that much damage when he has no blink and no Stargates against Mutas, you know, and apparently it was scary enough for ByuL not to hold the Muta key down. I would have loved to see more Mutas though, Todd. Instead of stopping at 12, go up to 20, you know, that's when 6 or 7 Stalkers are not going to be enough anymore to defend the base.
Couple more gateways being added on here.
Oh, God.
And it looks like Stats wanted to go for a timing similar to in the previous game, but then changed his mind and went home.
And don't forget, by the way, if Stats had a backup Prism on Overgrowth, there is a chance that that game would have ended a lot faster, right? I wonder if he's going to bring a second Prism this time.
Or maybe not lose the initial one.
Yeah.
If you can.
It's so hard, Todd. We all lose the initial Prism. Hallucinated Phoenixes will be able to scout the Spire, correct?
I don't lose the initial prison, but I lose my army.
Wait, did he? Oh no, he didn't. Wow, he was able to kill both. How high is the Archon count? 3 Archons and Sentry. So obviously he can warp in a couple of Stalks as well. Muta's gonna be able to shut down this Prism.
Templar Arca is on the way. Cannon up in the main middle line.
It's gonna be hard, man. I think it's gonna be a very, very difficult hold for ByuL, but it is possible. He does have all the right tools with the Mutas, with the Roaches, couple Ravages maybe, Banelings, Bane Speed finishing up.
Couple Zealots actually being caught here. And
Yeah, that was the Prism, I guess. I think he intercepted the Prism.
And from there, Stats gonna have to defend much like in the previous game, except this time he didn't throw in a timing at first that really weakened ByuL. Like ByuL's actually being left undisturbed at home with 78 drones.
Yeah. He does find an opening over here with the Mutas, Joe, and you gotta be very happy with these Mutas already getting 9 worker kills, and perhaps there are no. There's no base there yet. I was like, maybe you can get some more.
It's so good to have a couple links like this on the map as well, because I think that Stats at times, he hasn't even been properly sealed off at his natural with the wall off. He was moving the Zealots. Because his Robo is inside of his natural, he needs to move that Zealot every time, and we all know what happens. Link starts streaming in, they kill probes, and then you're very far behind.
This time, by the way, big difference between Newkirk and Overgrowth. If we remember on Overgrowth, it was +2 for Stats, and there were no upgrades at all for ByuL, right? Look at the double Evo chamber right now, already finishing up upgrades. He's getting missile attacks too, so this time there will be Hydras. There will be Hydras that actually have upgrades as well, and the Banelings will have upgrades.
And honestly, since Stats is not playing with the mass air style, I feel like if ByuL goes up to 5 bases easily, which so far has been the case, I think he's going to be in a very good position to win this game. Like as long as he gets the right army, goes for the right attacks, and then remaxes behind it.
I like the Muta play again though, Johan. He's really doing a great job in finding openings here, getting 5, 6, maybe 7, 8 probe kills. Mutas are still alive, just being a massive nuisance. Look at the worker count. 49 probes only against 83 drones.
But keep in mind, Stats is a pretty ridiculous late game player in my opinion. Remember the game that he played against Dark at BlizzCon on New Gettysburg? That was like one of the best quick decision on the fly that he had to just basically make a lot of gateway units against a lot of useless corruptors to go and kill him. So he's very familiar with these situations, usually makes the right calls, but so far ByuL definitely, I think, has put himself in a very good position here in this game.
ByuL is like, I gave you 3 bases, but I'm going to try to prevent you from going up to 4. There are no lurkers yet, but there are a lot of Hydralisks. Photon Overcharge is helping out. Banelings, however, getting very, very good connections on all these Zealots. And this Protoss army, Todd, it's just melting.
Yeah, he's going to regroup here with some of his Stalkers that were a little bit behind this. Zealots reinforcing, and looks like Stats going to be able to hold, but he traded a lot of supply here for this, and Storm's going to finish.
And he lost a lot of very expensive units as well. Units that are not easy to replace. Talking Immortals, talking the Archons as well. And the next fight, Todd, there are going to be some lurkers. Yes, that 4th base is finished up, but the probe count is simply not very high.
Yeah, with ByuL's economy being left untouched the entire game here, pretty much. He's now going to find himself on 5 bases with Hive on the way, taking 2 lurkers against a Protoss player who's only got a couple Immortals and no Disruptor on the way. Like, sure, he has Storm, but how much can it really do in a game like this?
A couple of Zealots knocking down that cooling tower, but the Baneling will still roll through. There are Archons on the way now.
Oh, the Banelings!
Let's right-click them.
Oh, the Zerglings are shielding them away from that.
A little bit of a multi-prong here as well. Good SimCity, good Photon Overcharge as well.
Knock, who's there? Banelings!
Banelings will connect with 1 Archon and also with a lot of probes. No,
oh my god! It worked!
Well, he got
22
22.
probes!
He got them all.
There's that last Baning. there was nothing left to kill. And he's streaming inside of the Fault base at the same time with a couple units right now. Just keeping Stats at home, forcing him to just kind of stay there and defend.
Well, Stats sacrificing 2 Archons as well. 2 Archons are on creep there. They were separated from the army, left behind. So not only did he just lose 22 workers out, he does find this army.
He might go for the attack if Stats realizes that he's ahead on the army supply, but ByuL has got a bank. He's got a lot of hatcheries to replenish, even got a macro and I think he might be able to get enough, especially now with lurkers on the way. This is looking really good right now for the Zerg player.
This is one of these games, Todd, where I want to see a lot of lurkers, and we see 7 on the production tab already, and that's what I like to see. Ooh, that Immortal is dodging bullets there, because the Lynx could have gone for the surround. Lynx are going to try to be a massive nuisance on the Fort base. The Mutas are still there as well. I mean, Archons are great against Lynx, but that's a crazy amount of Zerglings, Todd.
I know Archons are supposed to be good against Zerglings, but not in these numbers here. He's going to go straight for the Nexus, snipes a lot of probes as well. And he's behind this, ByuL again, his economy across the map keeps on building and building. He's now up to 82 drones.
Yeah, getting that kill on that Fort base is massive. 7 lurkers on the map. I'd like to see a few more, because if Stats has had enough of this game and he's just gonna go for it, well, let him run into 10, 12 lurkers, right?
I feel like ByuL is spooning him right now. It's payback time.
Oh, the army supplies though, 108 against 102. I mean, the dream is
but
still
lurkers.
alive. Yeah, but like 7 lurkers is a lot, but I think you need more. I mean, Banelings are going to make this very complicated, obviously, and Creep as well. Oh, this is it, man. Tournament live on the line for ByuL. Can he defend this intimidating-looking Protoss army?
That is a lot of Banelings. It's going to be a lot about the engagement, the storm standing. In the previous game, Stats got some great engagements. Like a lot of other Protosses in the same position as him when he was pretty much maxed out and attacked towards that gold base would not have been able to do as well as him, but he fought so well and positioned his army so well that he was able to do.
How did that queen get there, Todd? That was the queen.
She's a wanderer.
Absolutely, no, a great Aspire on the way as well, and Johan, he did get a couple of extra lurkers. We're looking at 11 lurkers now, and that's a great number, and 109 Zerglings. Oh my god.
Good luck removing these lurkers from that position here. They're all together as well, so they're going to do a lot of
burst
control damage in the same area. It's so hard to engage in. Every time I've engaged into this kind of army, I've lost right away.
I mean, ByuL is up 50 supply, but most of that is in the workers. But these lurkers being in the sweet position that they are, is it enough for the Zerg player? The storms do connect with almost everything, and a couple of the units from ByuL are not here, but still the lurkers just pushing out an incredible amount of damage. All the Protoss units melt. GG.
And ByuL equalizes the score here in this best of 5. We've been treated with some crazy good series in this tournament, and a lot of them have gone to the final map. ByuL is still alive.
You gotta